What makes a snob? Is it the way they look down their nose at you? Is it their disdain for any sort of income inequality? Or is it simply the need for expensive things? Well, one of those three isn't far off, with an actual economic effect explaining quite what makes a snob. This is the cleverly named Snob Effect. A snob consumer sees price as an indicator of privilege. The higher the price of something, the better you look, the more high class you look, and the more added value there is to having that thing. Think fancy jewellery, fast cars, and anything to which you would standardly put the word luxury. As such, the snob will avoid the popular brands, the ones that everyone has, the accessible brands, even the more high-end accessible brands. The snob wants the best of the best, and the more the price goes up, the more the snob has to get their hands on it. That's the snob effect. It can be nicely depicted on a graph as an upward sloping demand curve. As the price, see the left-hand axis, increases, the quantity demanded, the bottom axis, also increases. This is particularly irrational. Why would you want something more when the price for it is higher? Well, there's a number of internal and external factors that affect the snob. Let's delve into the snob's brain for a second. The snob, as I've mentioned, wants the best of the best. There's a reason for this, it's a sort of peacocking effect. The need for the extra value of stuff to appear as the most prestigious person in the room is the most important thing for them. They need to be the sole owner of the product. They need to be better than everybody else, unique in having what no one else has. It's the recognition they receive for having these things that gives them value. The more expensive the product, the more recognition, and so the more value they get from it. That's the primary reason for the curve. As the price goes up, the snob gets more value from it, and so they buy more of it. An example could be useful, and if you've ever been to any event that sells champagne, you might just have seen this in action. At a popular horse racing event in the UK, you can buy a bottle of Veuve Clicquot for £70. This retails in supermarkets for about £30. It's more than 100% markup on the RRP, so you might think, I'll leave it, I'll buy some in Tesco and we'll enjoy it once we get home. Now, while there's external factors to buying it while you're at the races, for example the immediacy factor or perhaps the weather, one of the main reasons you'll see the bloke in the expensive suit with his royal enclosure badge hanging from his lapel, shelling out his £70, is the way it makes him look impressive. It makes his friends think he's wealthy and look up to him. That might not actually be the case, but that's what would run through the snob's mind. He'll probably pay with 250s as well, if he's a proper snob. Note this applies to men and women, that was just an example. There is a key external factor as well, a very simple one. If people start liking to consume the expensive stuff, and it becomes popularised, the snob won't want it anymore. If everyone was buying the most expensive clothes, the most luxurious cars, the snob would want one better. That's the key external factor acting on the snob, other people's buying decisions. If normal people start getting the good stuff, the snob won't want it anymore. The one thing they can't do though, is get better than the best. So you see the snobbishness in their attitude towards the product. Look at the phone industry. The iPhone will be more expensive than its Android counterpart, and in society, whether we like it or not, it will be seen as the more prestigious as well. That doesn't mean it has better features than its counterpart, not at all, but it's still seen as better. More and more people choose to buy it. The iPhone becomes popular. So, what does the snob do? They buy the latest iPhone as soon as it comes out. Then, a year later, when their quote old iPhone, which still works perfectly, doesn't do the job, they buy the new iPhone again. How many of you know someone who does this? I'd guess a few of you actually do it yourselves. With all that put together, we have formed a basic picture of the snob effect. An interesting and real economic phenomenon which, by understanding it, might just help you understand why people do what they do.